and keep first-time donors. Now, there is no secret on what I believe in. I believe that it is all about building relationships. And so I hear people all the time asking, where do I find new donors, right? And so in speaking about where do I find new donors, they always ask, is there a list somewhere? And I say, well, no, there's no magic pill. It doesn't work that way, but there are some proven techniques for finding people who love your mission. And that's what we're going to be going into today. And you can build a big, loyal donor base. And it's one of the smartest things that you can do to build your budget, building that loyal donor base. And I use this approach for over 15 years, where I serve as a CEO for a nonprofit organization. I increased the operating revenue from $750,000 to $2.5 million and completed a $12 million comprehensive capital campaign. I started and grew an endowment to $500,000 and had 180 days of cash reserves. And my organization, it was located along the Mexico-Texas border in the third poorest county in the United States. So if I can do it, guys, you can do it. That is my whole point for sharing that. If you're in West Tennessee, if you're in Greenville, North Carolina, if you're in San Diego, if you're in New York City, it doesn't matter where you are, what your challenges are, you can do this. That is what this is about. And this is why I love teaching these webinars, because I want to share how you can do this in your community. So today we're going to be talking about 10 ways to find new donors. We're going to talk about once you find those donors, how do you retain those donors? And we're going to talk about what to include in a first-time donor kit and how to begin to build relationships with donors, because that's even more important as you travel through this journey of fundraising and expanding your organization. And so today you're in the right place. And this training is perfect for you if you want to start or diversify your organization's budget. You want to start relationships with individuals who might become donors, and you want to stop losing donors. You're simply tired of losing donors. You get somebody to give and then they don't give again. And so we're going to get you off of that train, and you're worth it. I always start my trainings off with this. I want you to close your emails, close the 20 browsers you have open, close the door, ask the kids or the pets not to kill themselves for about an hour. Don't know what situation you're in, but I have pets. Yay, I'm an empty nester. My baby is a junior in college, so I'm all right with that. But before we get started, again, this presentation is being recorded. If please chat any questions. I will answer them in a formal Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And to ensure a seamless webinar, again, check your internet connection and close other tabs. I know that helps when you have some internet trouble. So, hi, I am Sabrina Walker Hernandez, and I studied political science and public administration. I obtained a nonprofit management certification from Harvard Business School. And for the last 25 years, I've worked in the nonprofit industry. I've worked in direct services, operations, and executive leadership. In 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer and felt I needed to retire. And since then, I've been helping small nonprofit staff and board build relationships that convert into more donations. And I know if you attended my training, I explained this, that I keep the cancer diagnosis in there because it is the whole impetus of why I started my company. I started my company to support stressed out, overwhelmed, often overworked, and often underpaid nonprofit professionals like yourself. And because of that, I have a lot of low-cost services that I like to provide or no-cost services that I like to provide. And so that is why I do these webinars and try to bring this quality training to you. And when you signed up, you received a password for a VIP resource library that has documents from around board development, marketing, resource development, sample policies, all of those kinds of things. And I'm putting the password in the chat for everyone in case you did not pay attention to that first email. That is the password to that VIP resource library. Go in there and use those documents. There's no point for you to be stressed out and reinvent the wheel. I have several things in there that's really can help you on this journey. So what do? I do workshops, I do board retreats, I do webinars like this, I do coaching, and I do consulting. So I'm using everything I learned to get you there faster. And this is what I want you to do. I love visualization. So I want you to imagine a day when all your fundraising systems are in place and you're raising money even when you are sleeping. I want you to imagine a day when someone comes up to you and says, I love the work that your nonprofit is doing, and I'd like to write you a check right now. Imagine a day when fundraising has become easy and fun, and you always have enough to fund your mission. It can happen. The one thing I know is chasing rich people will likely result in disappointment and frustration. We've all sat in that board meeting and heard if we could just get Charlie to give, or because he's rich, if we could just get him, he supports A, B, and C over there. If we could just get him to give us money, we'll be set. I'm going to tell you, chasing rich people will likely result in frustration and disappointment. Because just because people have money doesn't mean they want to give it to you. Okay? Wealth is not an indication of a person's generosity. People don't give based on how much money they have. They give based on your nonprofit's value. And the only way that you're going to be able to share what your nonprofit value is telling your nonprofit story to the right donors. Now, we're not here to talk about storytelling. That's a whole nother training, but we're talking about who are those right donors. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So you have to be strategic to find new donors. And hope is not a strategy. I hope people will decide to give to my organization, or I hope they give big. Or growing a donor base requires ongoing, consistent effort to find the right people and invite them to give. And so if you look at this graphic, I love this graphic, and I want you to look at it. You start from the center, which is family, and I talk about family all the time. And for me, family in the nonprofit word is your board, your staff, your volunteers. You start with family and you move outward in this circle. Okay, so when you start looking for new donors, you're looking for people with a connection to your mission. Your volunteers have a connection. Your board members have a connection. Your staff, if you are blessed to have staff, they have a connection. So we're going to start with the inner circle and move out. And we're not trying to appeal to the whole community. And we're not trying to appeal to those who don't give to charity. We're being very strategic, because If you're anything like I was when I ran my nonprofit organization, you got a lot on your plate. And so you have to be very strategic about how you move things around on your plate, what you take put on your plate, take off your plate. And so I want you to know who you're going after when we're talking about this journey. So you're going to start with the people you know. That's the family. That's the red part of that circle. Again, you're going to start with your volunteers. So did you know that 72% of volunteers are only involved in one organization? So if you have a volunteer, more than likely they're only involved in your organization. That is a potential donor. People give their time, and they often will also give their treasure. So A, volunteers, people you know, lapsed donors. That means people that gave to you before and they haven't given again. You have to re-engage them so that they can donate again. People you know are event attendees. These supporters, they liked your organization enough to show up to an event. So reach out to them in other ways and get them involved in with your nonprofit cause. You know, one possible first step is to call those new attendees and find out, you know, what they thought about the event. And if they see themselves getting more involved, or if they're interested in learning about more. So when you're doing your events and with your registration, you make sure you capture that information, their email, their cell phone. This is where I'm saying be a little strategic. I don't care if you're selling a raffle ticket, capture that information and then use that information. Event sponsors, if you are having event sponsors, you ask businesses that are event sponsors to consider financially supporting your organization with a regular donation. Board members. Your board members should be supporting your organization financially. I don't get into that debate of should board members give just their time and their talent. I don't. I'm very 100% about this. Board members should be giving their time, talent, and treasure. They are the highest officials in the organization. They're the governing body. Nonprofits don't have an ownership, but they are the governing body. And if your family doesn't give and invest in you, then how do you expect others to give and invest in you? So board members, website visitors, you capture contact information from interested website visitors with a pop-up for them to join your email list. Now you can use, write this one down. You can use Convertful if you have a WordPress website, and it's absolutely free. And that's the pop-up, you know, they sign up for your email list and you start sending them information around that. So they have visited your website for a reason. They're interested in something. So website visitors, those are the people that you know. Social media followers, you know, have your board and staff act as social media ambassadors, sharing the page with their friends, families, and other interested individuals. And what I'm going to say about social media is you keep content 80% interest and 20% asking, promotional. So you don't want to always only post when you're doing a Facebook fundraiser or only when you have an event going on. And I see a lot of nonprofits do that. Don't do that. You have to do ongoing engagement. Don't just become active when you have an event happening. You have to share your nonprofit story. Remember I said storytelling at the top. So you have to be active with your social media and sharing those stories. And then you have to, there's outreach and participants. When you're at community events or you're at speaking engagement, collect contact info from those people that are attending. And don't make it complicated for them. I tell people all the time, do a QR code, link it to a free jot form, have people fill it out, and that's it. You don't have to do the old school sign in on our, sign in with the clipboard and you collect the information and you get back to the office and you can't read their handwriting. It's very frustrating. So QR code, QR generator, Monkey is free. Jot form is free, and do a simple sign up like that. That helps save you time, because then you can just upload that into your MailChimp manually, and voila, you can start communicating with people. So keep that in mind. People who know you indirectly, that's your next level. So you can do a crowdfunding campaign. Again, this is when your board members are acting, and board members, volunteers, and others are acting as ambassadors, because you're going to encourage existing donors to join your crowdfunding campaign, and then have them reach out to their friends, families, and colleagues to participate. So these are people that you know indirectly through the people that are in that red part of your circle, okay? Sponsor patrons, again, create promotional materials to indicate that a business is a proud supporter of your nonprofit. Ask companies that routinely sponsor your events to provide auction items to display their support of your organization on their premises. Their customers will see their support, and they may want to join them in supporting. I will tell you this, it does not cost a lot, and you may even be able to get it donated, to get decals for restaurant doors. I did this one when I was with my nonprofit organization. You can order them online through Sticker Mule, right? Some decals, very inexpensive, or you can establish a relationship with a local printer, which is what I did. Not a printer, a sign company, because they often make decals. Some printers do too, but the sign companies did the decals, and we developed a relationship, and they donated some. And so as people walked into different restaurants around the community, it said, I am a supporter of A, B, and C organization. And now with the QR code, I'm a supporter of A, B, and C organization. Join me, put a QR code on that, stick it on a door, and people can actually actively participate. And if they don't, that's still awareness. That's still community awareness. That's still showing people that a restaurant or retail store supports you. And so every time someone encounters your logo or sees that, it just builds awareness. So think about that. It's not hard. Again, sticker mule, or work with the local sign company. They can donate the stickers, and you go. Look, when I did this, I put it everywhere. Restaurants where I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I asked them, they were like, sure. My dentist's office, look, if I did business with you, my accountant, if I did business with you, I was like, can we put this sticker on decal on the door? And no one said no. So that's an easy one. And you get your board members involved and just have those all around town. People you know indirectly, again, matching gifts. When an employee donates to your organization, prompt them to ask their employer to match their gift through the company's matching gift program. I had a lot of board members, and you probably do too. My board members did give, but they also worked for companies that did matching gifts. Now, I'm going to tell you, oftentimes they didn't know that the company did matching gifts, or they didn't want to do the paperwork, right? So I was like, you know what? I know your company does matching gift. Just send me your link. I fill it out for you. No problem. Sometimes you have to do that, but that is people who know you indirectly. Those have that company match that gift. Also, referrals. I love this one because I got some of my best donors from this one. Asking current donors for recommendations about who they know that might be interested in becoming more involved with the nonprofit. And I never left it at that. I always said, do you know anyone? And would you be willing to facilitate a connection? And the reason why I did that is because they lend their credibility to the organization. So if I'm making a referral or a recommendation on this organization, and you know me, and you're like, well, I'm going to do it because Sabrina introduced us. And if she believes in, I know she does her homework. And if she believes in this organization or this mission, then you guys must be good. And so I always try to get them to facilitate that meeting. And so referrals are a great way. If your current donors are passionate enough to invest in you, then they don't mind sharing out, but you have to ask people. They're not going to necessarily volunteer their information because we don't all think like that. And then house parties. I love a good house party. A house party, these parties are hosted by the donor or a board member, and they invite prospective donors to the event. And I love a good house party. That was one of the tools in my toolbox when I did my fundraising. My board members and or donors, I had a couple of board members, a couple of donors who held house parties and invite people in. You could take them where you want to. I have a kit that I do provide for that, sell for that. But one of the best house parties I ever attended didn't follow that kit necessarily. It was a fish fry. I had a board member who loved fishing, and we're in the Gulf of Mexico. So he went fishing and caught all of this fish, and then he brought it home and cleaned it and cooked it, and then we had like 40, 50 people in his backyard with a fish fry. And we talked about the organization, kept it real informal. It was one of the best events ever. We got a lot of leads out of that. So house parties are great. List generators. So a list generator is exactly what it says. You're going to generate a list of people who have potential interest in your organization, and you're going to conduct this activity with your board to help them think of all of those who they come in contact with within their network. That's people that, the list generator. I love a list generator. I'm going to give you the sphere of influence and the list generator instructions and documents. But I love the list generator because it says, name 2 people that you know who attend church with you. Name 2 people that volunteer on other boards that you know. Name 2 people that you attend a social club with. And once you get through that whole activity, everybody will have a sheet of about 25 names, and it doesn't force you to kind of remember. It's not a blank circle like the sphere of influence. It gives you prompts. And so I love the list generator. And that's going to be the document that you are going to get for attending this webinar live. And so really, this list generator, I'm giving it to you to say this is a great way for you to identify potential donors to your organization. But I want to expand beyond the use of the potential donors to the organization. I want you to also think about using this list generator when you are thinking of potential board members. Use this list generator when you're thinking of who can I invite to my special event, right? If you're doing a gala or a breakfast or a dinner or whatever it is, who can I invite to my special event? This tool can be used for multiple things, not just who are potential donors, but who can come to my event, who can become a board member. Use this tool over and over again, and not just you as the founder or the CEO or the executive. Bring your board members in on this, or your task force members if you're working with a task force. Use this tool. And so that third group of people that you can get donors from are people who share similar interests. They can make great potential donors. Like you, they're passionate and they care deeply about a cause, and you can grab their attention and channel that passion for your nonprofit organization. And you want them to channel their passion into financial support, right? So for this group, your goal is to build awareness and cultivate them towards activities that will then have them have some more direct contact, keeping them within that circle, right? So they're not going to be all about that community in the whole. These are people that actually are like-minded. And so how do you find these like-minded people? Now, this is where I love to do this. So Similar nonprofits, you're going to look at similar organizations' annual reports. And a lot of nonprofits put out annual reports, and in those things, I was one of those. And we listed all our donors, our individual donors, and our corporate sponsors, just so we were acknowledging them and saying thank you. And so we listed all of them unless they asked to be anonymous. So grab some annual reports out there. Look at 990s. Go to GuideStar, set up an account. And GuideStar has every nonprofit's 990. And as a part of the 990, anybody who gives over, I think it's $10,000, you have to disclose their information on your 990. And not only that, they serve on your board, you have to also disclose the information. So look at 990s. You can find out what foundations have given to the organization and how much, and things of that nature. Look at their websites. Sometimes nonprofits will put out their information of their donors on their websites. Look at their newsletters. I would, on the back of my newsletter, I would acknowledge donors every month. I had a roll call of everybody individuals who've given to our organization. So look at newsletters, look at event materials. I love going to a event, a gala or a breakfast or whatever it is. And I always swipe the program, because and then I open up that program and it tells me who sponsored their event. And I'm like, interesting. They sponsored this event. Let me see who I know here and see if I can start building that relationship. And, oh, I know them. Why, if they're giving to them, why aren't they giving to us? So that's why looking for similar nonprofits and doing that. And then once you have all that material, not only do you use your, let me look at it, but you're going to ask your board and staff if they happen to know anyone on those lists as you procure those lists. Sign-up sheets, again, when you are speaking at social clubs and have a sign-up sheet for those interested in receiving more information, do that. So I would speak oftentimes at Rotary or the Kiwanis or Lions or the Optimists about my organization. And I would say, we're currently looking for board members or volunteers. And of course, we always need financial support. If anyone is interested in learning more information, there's a sign-up sheet. You can use a QR code in this day and age. And if you could just fill out that information and we'll get in contact with you. Simple as that. And that's people who are like-minded. And if they take the time to fill that out, then they really aren't interested. There's also list brokers, guys. You can rent, if all else fails, you can rent or purchase mailing lists. And you can purchase those lists based on people who that your calls resonate with. You can get that list broke down by ethnic group. It depends on what your goal is. I have bought lists before. I am not going to lie to you. I have bought lists before and I did it by a zip code. Again, small community, but there's a certain zip code, and I knew some people in those zip codes, and I wanted to know. So you can do a list broker. Social media ads. Social media ads are, of course, y'all know, you can find new supporters by reaching out to people who have similar demographics and interests as your existing followers. Now it's not as cheap as it used to be, but they do have those lookalike audience. So you can really take, if people have signed up for your newsletter and you have their email addresses, now you can paste, with Facebook, you can put that in there and create a lookalike audience for your ad. So that is one way that you can do it. So those are all the different ways, which is more than 10 ways of finding donors, right? So, and everybody's always talking about finding donors. So I wanted to spend some time there talking about finding donors. But where I want to spend a little more time is I want to talk about, once you found them, what you're going to do with them, right? So you got their attention. Let's say they're primed to give, but what happens is you might get them, and you might get them for that one-time gift, but you're not going to get them to give again because you're not creating the right experience for them. So according to the latest research, and I don't like doing a lot of research, but I think this is great. But according to the latest research, the average donor retention rate for the first year offline is only 29%. That's it. So that's 60. So if this was 30, 29%, y'all. We're leaving a lot of money on the table. And for online, it's 22%. So that means 3 out of 4 new donors leave and they never come back. And when you think about that and the rising cost of donor acquisition, which simply means getting donors, you have an incredible, difficult environment for fundraising. But I am happy that you are here today because we can change this, and according to donor retention expert, Dr. Adrian Sargent, a 10% in donor retention can increase the lifetime value of your donor database by 200%. So if you focus on keeping your donors and making it a great donor experience, 200%, it can increase what your organization is doing. So let's get started on that. You got to devote time to your donors with the expectation that this will pay off in the future. And I know oftentimes we're in that mode where I need money right now. And you will get money right now. But you got to devote time to your donors with the expectation that this will pay off in the future years. So do that. But also I want you to think about your donors and building that relationship. You gotta cultivate them. And cultivation is everything that you do before you ask for money. And then stewardship is everything that you do after you have their money. So, and all of that is building relationships. Your donors do not want to feel like an ATM machine. How many of you have gotten a gift and then you don't talk to that donor again till 8 months down the road when it's time for another gift? That's why nonprofits are losing their donors. And it's simple. Fundraiser Penelope Burt showed that a thank you call to a newly acquired donor yields 40% more revenue in year 2. That means if I give you $10 this year and you call and you say thank you to me, I might give you 50 my second time around. Why am I doing that? Because 1, you're setting yourself apart. 2, you actually said thank you. And not only did you not say thank you just with an automatic email response, you picked up the phone and you said thank you, or you sent me a card. That makes you stand out. That makes me feel appreciated as a donor. Simple things like that. And we are going to talk, you can put a system in place, and I share some tips around that. But saying thank you, building a relationship before you ask for the gift, right? And continuing to build that relationship after you get the gift. That is 75% of the fundraising process. Cultivation is 60%. Stewardship is 15%. 75% of the fundraising process is building relationships. It's not about asking for money. It is building relationships with the right people. And we've already established there is a host of people that you know directly. There's a host of people that your organization knows indirectly. And there's a host of people who are like-minded out there. But your job is to build a relationship with those people so that they will give more than one time, that they will give again and again and again to your organization. So how do you build a relationship with people? Cultivation, you build a relationship face-to-face. Face-to-face meetings still reign king. And don't tell me it's the pandemic and you can't do face-to-face meetings, because Zoom is face-to-face. Some of you I've never met in the real world, but we interact via the internet and Zoom all the time. And I hope you feel like you've developed a relationship with me. It is very possible. So face-to-face meetings reign king. Phone calls, picking up the phone and talking to people. Thank you for your gift. What motivated you to give this gift? Newsletter, communication, cultivation. Well, when I say phone calls, thank you for your gift, this is before you even ask for a gift, right? It's phone calls to kind of just check in on people. See how they're doing, see if inviting them to an event, having those phone calls with them. Then it's newsletters. That's why you have an email list. Don't let all of your contacts be on social media, because y'all remember that day when Facebook went down? I remember that day when Facebook went down. If I didn't have my email list, I would have lost. If that would have been prolonged, I would have lost contact with everyone. But newsletters, I send out newsletters. You should send out newsletters, letting your donors know what is happening in your organization. Having events, and when I'm talking about events, I'm talking about roundtable discussions where your donors come together, tours of your facilities, house parties. Those are the types of events that's a part of cultivation. If you happen to be facility-based, invite them in for a tour. If you're not facility-based, have a roundtable discussion about not the impact of your organization, but what problem your organization is trying to solve. Volunteer opportunities. A hands-on volunteer opportunity will change the dynamics of the relationship and where it's going. If you run it, and some, of course, some nonprofits are more suitable for these types of engagement and volunteer opportunities, but you have to be creative. So again, I worked with youth, so volunteer opportunities was great for me. If I got a potential donor in front of my clients, which was the youth, then they did what they needed to do. And some of you are in that situation, but some of you may not be. But you have to create volunteer opportunities. Surveys and advice is number 6, the 6th way to cultivate. Asking people for their advice or surveying your donors. That's how you start to build that relationship with them before you ask for money. Now, after you ask for, and let me say, if you do cultivation right, which is 60% of the fundraising process, you don't have to do the ask, which is the ask is only 5% of the fundraising process. People know if you do a volunteer event and have them on site, or do a tour and have them on site, and in your newsletter, you're highlighting all the great things that you're doing, you're sharing your impact, you are picking up the phone and calling them, you're sending out a survey, you're asking them for advice, you're doing all of this, they're going to give to you. And sometimes you don't even have to ask. They see the need, you've demonstrated the need, you've built a relationship with them. They trust you with their hard-earned dollars. And they will voluntarily give their money without doing the ask, without you having to do that 5%. So cultivation is very, very critical. And then stewardship, which is what you do after the gift. You have to say thank you. As so many nonprofits that I give gifts to, I do it. Guys, this is my business. So what I do is, a lot of you are members of either my Facebook group or you come to these webinars, and I go look up your organizations. And sometimes I make a donation and I'll see, am I getting a thank you? Do I get anything beyond the automatic thank you? And then even if it's automatic, is it warm? Does it feel like it's individualized to me? So saying thank you, just to say thank you, will make a difference. Remember the research, 40% increase on the next gift. Having a donor matrix. Now, donor matrix, don't panic. It's just a stewardship plan. You have a sample one in the resource library, right? It is, what are you going to do with that donor who gives for the first time? Or what are you going to do with that donor who gives at a certain level? You should have a matrix, exactly what you're going to do with those donors. Now, some people say, and I do agree with this, it should be built on where you're trying to take that relationship. But I also know when I was new that was overwhelming for me. So I kept it really, really simple for myself. So if you gave $10, that was 10, then you got a thank you card. If you gave like $100, that's 20. So then I gave you a thank you card and I did a video. If you gave, 500, no, let's keep going. If you gave $1,000, that's, however many zeros that is, that's 3 touches. So I added something each time. That was easy at the time if you're new. And then as you evolve, then you can base it on different other criteria. But having a donor matrix in place, having something in place, having a system in place, and then using donor-centric language, because of you, Sabrina was able to graduate. Having more yous in your communication than I's in your communication when you're thanking a donor, and not making it about the nonprofit, but making it about the donor, making the donor the superhero. That's what you're doing. And then share stories of impact, letting people know how their investment in your organization had a great return. Share those stories, share your client stories. Feedback. You just simply ask them why they gave. That's the phone conversation that you can have. Pick up the phone and say, thank you for giving. And then just like, wow, what resonated about our nonprofit? And then a first-time donor experience. If you can't focus on anything else, first-time donor experience is where you should focus your time and energy. But before you do all of that, all of these things that you're doing, your stewardship pieces, your cultivation pieces, you got to document them. And that's the role of a CRM. And I'm telling you this because I know where I was at as an executive director. Every time they talked about a CRM, and I would be like, Lord, that's $2,000. I can just put this in Excel. I can keep track of this in Excel. But you can't. And I'm going to tell you why you can't do that. You can't do that because your board needs to know about those different relationships. You need to know about those different relationships. You get busy. You don't. If it's all in your head, if something happens to you, all of that information goes away. And so you need to be able to measure your donor's passion by tracking their interactions in a CRM. You want to know who answered a survey. You want to know who had their employee match a gift. You want to know who read your newsletter. Do they like you on Facebook? Did they attend a recent event? You need to jot down information when you speak to the donor. Why do you need all this? You need this because you know where they're at in the journey. If they're ready for the ask, can you increase the ask of them? If they're reading your newsletter, answering your survey, liking you on Facebook, coming to your event, it's time. It's time to ask. They're good. They bought in, but you don't know that unless you're keeping track of it, right? So I put that in there because I was one of you. I was like, that's $2,000. I could do something else with that $2,000. I regretted the decision and delayed it for a long time. And when I did invest in a good CRM system, and not only invest in a good CRM system, because that was my hang up. My hang up was like, yeah, I can have a system, but I don't have nobody to input that information. And if you junk in, junk out. But it's worth the investment. You can get an intern to do that. You can get someone to do that, but get the system so that you are aware. And there's a lot of systems out there, and I'm not endorsing one system on another, but there's Bloomerang, Neon One, Little Green Light. There are so many systems out there. You pick the best system for your organization. My point is, have a system. So let's talk about this first-time donor experience, because again, you're busy. You're busy. And so you can't focus on everything. And so if you can't focus on everything, you absolutely should focus on creating a first-time donor experience. Because the research has shown that you will lose 70%, nonprofits lose 70% of nonprofits do not have a repeat donor. They lose their first-time donors. So I want that to sink in. Most organizations lose 70% of donors after their first gift. And that's bad business. And you are a business. You are a not-for-profit business, but you are a business. And just like any business, keeping a customer is much less costly than acquiring a new one. So make sure your customer, which is the donor, is receiving the best service possible. And that's timeful, thoughtful gratitude. And you need to build a first-time donor nurture series where you love them up 2 to 4 times over the course of 2 to 4 months. So I don't want you to even have to think about this. Here is your first-time donor nurture series timeline. When I give to your organization, or anybody gives to your organization, within 48 hours, I say 24, I say 24 to 48, but I'm being generous, 48 hours, they should receive a personal thank you for the first donation over email. That's automatic nowadays, right? But you can also put in a system where they receive a handwritten note from you if you want to stand out. And the system is pretty simple. I've shared it before. It's at the end of every board meeting, pass out a script, a thank you script, an ink pen, the same pack of ink pens to your board members. Have them write that thank you note in their handwriting on that note card and sign it. Don't address it to anyone. You collect those. Each board member does 3 of those at the end of each meeting. You collect them, you put them on your desk. When that gift comes in, you add the donor's name, you sign your name next to that board member, you put it in an envelope and you send it out. Voila, they got a personal handwritten note from a board member. But let's talk about this nurture series. 48 hours, they get that email. 2 weeks, they get a welcome packet and a thank you phone call from a board member. So Sabrina gave a gift. She got an immediate thank you. 2 weeks, she's going to get something in the mail. I say in the mail because people don't get things in the mail anymore. You might think it's a budget issue, but I'm telling you, it's well worth the investment. They get a welcome packet and they get a thank you phone call from a board member. Remember, 15% of fundraising is stewardship. Your board members will be more than willing, or certain board members will be more than willing to lean into that strength to say thank you. And then within 4 weeks, you have them on your newsletter. You put their email and they're starting to receive your newsletter. And in that newsletter, you're going to be sharing impact stories. And not only are you going to be sharing impact stories, in that newsletter, you're going to share your social media links. 8 weeks out, you're going to have a volunteer opportunity. So remember when I said a volunteer opportunity is when you get them in front of your clients. So for me, I served youth. Every day we provided homework help. So I would invite people to come in and help kids with their homework. Or every day the kids went into the gym and played basketball or did something. I invited them to come in and interact with the kids in some way. If whatever your organization is doing, 8 weeks down, you should be providing a volunteer opportunity. And then 12 weeks, wrap it up with another personal email or a text. It doesn't have to be email, it could be a text. But this is the timeline. This is the nurturing system for a first-time donor. You want people to give again and again. And then your welcome packet, an effective welcome packet, should educate your donor about your nonprofit, while also showing them that you care about their decision to support your mission. You're basically welcoming them to the family. You're going to have a welcome letter, a board thank you card, a small token gift, not swag. Don't send swag. You need something that focuses on a mission, printed newsletter or fact sheet, photographs, and then that should have photographs of the beneficiaries and a well-written story of impact. And just remember that this package is designed as a creative way to say thank you and welcome the donors to your family. It shouldn't be a laundry list of series, a list of series or facts or figures about your nonprofit. Okay, so when new donors give to your organization, it is critically important to welcome them properly. You got to make them feel special, guys. You got to anticipate the questions they might have and give them a chance to let you know how they like to shape the relationship. It's again, relationships. And that's the presentation. So I want you guys to mark your calendar for the first Wednesday of each month at 12 noon on March the 2nd. We're going to be talking about getting your community behind your nonprofit. So that's going to be about community awareness. So I would love to see you guys there. So today I promised you 10 ways to find new donors. And I did that, gave you more than 10 ways and kept it focused in on family and that circle right beyond family. So you're not wasting your time. We talked about how to retain your new donors, what to include in a first-time donor kit, and how to begin building relationships with your donors. Now you have two choices here. You can keep Googling it and there's nothing wrong with it, but you're wasting a lot of time, a lot of energy. I told you my mission of my company, or you can fast track the results on how to keep and find first-time donors. And I'm happy to say that I'm going to be launching the Thriving Nonprofit Blueprint membership. I'm so excited about it. I'm going to be sharing more resources. Now, the VIP resource library is going to stay there. I'm not going to take that away. Although people's like, you should take that away and put it behind the vault with the membership. I'm not going to do that. That's not my mission. That's going to stay there. But any additional tools, board policies, all those things like that are going to go into this new membership. And it's going to help you. It's going to be designed to help you build a thriving nonprofit that will increase fundraising, engage your board, and increase community awareness. It's going to have an expanding library. It's going to have courses, hot seats, office hours with feedback, review, critiques, masterminds, get shit done sessions, and guest coaching in there. So it's going to be perfect for you if you feel like, you're doing it all on your own and something needs to change. If you're wearing those multiple hats and you're putting out fires and you feel like you don't have time to work on fundraising and building relationships. If you want to know how to get your board involved in fundraising, which is one of the number one things I get, or you just say, it's just me and I don't know where to start, it's for you. And why I'm doing it again is because I'm passionate and mission driven to help nonprofit professionals like yourself. I also know what it's like to be there, to struggle with the board and fundraising. And I know this membership is going to help you. So what I'm going to say here is you can sign up for the wait list to get early access. Here is the site, and or you can pick up your phone and scan this QR code to get on the wait list. And I'm going to drop that link also into the chat, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to tell you, here's some few testimonials of people that I have worked with. So this is Gerald. She says, Sabrina does a great job sharing information on how to tell your nonprofit story. And I kind of learned that from her and just transitioned it into LinkedIn. And I raised $75,000 on LinkedIn telling my nonprofit story. This is Emily, and she has, she did a call with me. All the things that I do on my calls, I'm transitioning into the membership. She said, I have great news. I called one of my longtime board members, asked him to give and to be a cheerleader for board contribution, and he was 100% on board. I'm going to be making an ask at the next board meeting and plan on following up with phone calls to board members to check in and gauge their response. This is Stephanie, and Stephanie says, our first time event was really successful. We sold tickets above our goal of 40, 58 sold and raised above our goal. Goal was 3,000 to 5,000, and we raised 6,000. Thank you for your help. It was really amazing. And this is Janice. Janice, 3 people have accepted board membership. Thanks. I will be continuing your services. And then finally, we have from Luis. I'm a first-time executive director. My organization held our first fundraising event in 5 years. We had good board participation and sponsorship the day of and leading up to securing items we need to have donated. We netted $40,000 for this event. Also, now 85% of my board members are giving personally. I am thankful to Sabrina. And guys, if you hadn't signed up for those strategy calls, that's what you missed